your phones on mute. Excited to do this presentation this morning with Complete Game Physical Therapy, Greg Crossman. We have Coach Cam Roper, Coach Carroll back on board today for you guys. So this one's a unique one. We haven't done this in the past. So this is at home here for your overhand throwers, baseball, your arm. Be able to make sure that you guys are ready to go once we get going towards our season. And then once you get into the season, how important it is to maintain as you move forward. So without further ado, I'll introduce Greg Crossman, owner of Complete Game Physical Therapy. A lot of you guys know him. He's down the hall from us at game time, and he's a huge, valuable asset to our program for everybody. So, Greg, take it away.
Thanks, Mark. Cal, you can go ahead and hit the next slide.
Yep.
I just wanted to thank all you guys for having me today. Thanks, Mark, Cam, and Cal for setting this up. Really appreciate it. Thanks to all the players and the parents that are out there, too, for having me today. Also want to take a minute to thank all doctors, nurses, medical support staff, first responders, whether your parents are or you have relatives are. I just want to take a minute to appreciate everything that they're doing out for everybody right now. So thank you. Go ahead, Cal.
Good.
So just to give you a little bit of my background, like Mark said, I own the physical therapy clinic that's in Game Time. I opened about 3 years ago, and I've worked in sports medicine for about 20 years. I've worked with athletes of all different levels, you know, everything from young kids to professional athletes. I've been fortunate enough to work with some professional athletes, baseball players with the Sea Dogs. Some of the Bruins and New England Revolution are all people that I've worked with in the past. I've also done some work with USA Baseball, which has been really great. Done some coaching and also done some consulting with them on injury prevention sort of stuff. So it's kind of brought me to where I am today. You can go ahead, Cal.
Yep.
So the objectives I wanted to do today, I wanted to review a little bit about arm care. Talk a little bit about why it's important. I wanted to give you a couple of screens that you guys can do at home right now, hopefully today, to take a look at how you move. And then I wanted to go over some exercises that you can start with. I've given you exercises in the past, and I want to give you some more that you can do to work on keeping your arm healthy. So when we talk about arm care, we talk about the challenge of throwing a baseball. If you want to kind of take a look at kind of some perspectives on throwing a baseball and how hard it is on your body, they estimate that Major League pitchers' arms move about 8,500 degrees per second when they throw a pitch. So if your arm were able to stay on your body and turn all the way around, that would be 24 times per second that your arm would spin around in the socket. And you can kind of compare that to a car moving 100 miles an hour. It's about the same speed that the car tire moves. So that's the stress on your arm when you throw. And what you're doing is you're really relying on an unstable structure in your body. Your shoulder is a pretty unstable joint. You can kind of picture it almost like a golf ball on a tee. It's a ball and socket joint, and it sits in your socket like a golf ball on a tee. So it really doesn't have a lot of stability structurally to keep that ball in the socket, especially moving at that kind of rate. But really what we have to do is we have to make sure that we're in good position, and we have to make sure that the shoulder's strong to be able to stand up to those crazy forces that are put on it when we throw a baseball. You can go ahead, Cal. So just talk a little bit about arm care. And if you guys have heard about arm care in the past, you may have heard about, you know, band work or weighted balls or shoulder tubes, or there's all different kinds of stuff about arm care out there. And just to kind of talk about the basics of arm care, really what arm care is a bunch of different things. It's not as simple as just band work or just as simple as throwing weighted balls or anything as simple as that. It's really a lot of things, components to arm care. If you want to talk about it, it's really proper warm-up and proper recovery. It's making sure that you have the strength and mobility necessary to throw without injury and throw to your full potential. It's also taking care of your body in other ways. We'll talk a little bit about that too. And it's really awareness of how you move and awareness of kind of what you're doing to stay in shape as a baseball player. Go ahead, Cal. But what does an arm care program do? What are we trying to do with our arm care stuff? One, we're looking at injury prevention. These arm care programs have shown to reduce the likelihood of injury to the shoulder and the elbow. You've probably heard, injury rates in youth baseball and baseball in general is through the roof. You hear almost when, the seasons are going on, you hear almost every day about somebody else getting Tommy John surgery or those sorts of things. And really a lot of what they're finding is the foundation of those injuries is happening when you're young. So even though, you're not hearing about 12-year-olds, thank goodness yet, getting Tommy John, you're hearing about we've heard about 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds getting Tommy John. And the highest rate of Tommy John is actually in that, 15 to 20-year-old range is the highest rate of Tommy John surgeries. But those injuries start when you're young. They start when they're your age. So if you can take care of yourself now, you're going to help prevent those injuries in the future. They're also, we're going to get some performance enhancement out of it. So I think everybody out there wants to throw harder. And what these arm care programs have shown to do is they've actually shown to, statistically, through research, have shown to increase throwing velocity. So you can increase your throwing velocity by 4% by just doing these arm care programs and nothing else. Hopefully you'll be doing other things too. But that's good incentive to get going on these arm care programs. They will actually help you throw harder. And then looking again down the road for you guys, college coaches are asking when they're doing their recruiting process, what are these kids doing as far as their arm care goes? And if your AAU coach or Spinners coaches can say to these coaches that are asking them, well, they've been on an arm care program since they were 12 years old, since they were 11 years old, that's going to impress the college coach, and it's going to help make them more confident in the recruiting process and in recruiting you. Go ahead, Cal.
Yep.
So the first thing we want to do is we want to look at mobility. And we look at mobility first because it's important that you move properly before we start to talk about strengthening, okay? And the first we're going to do here is we're going to take you through 3 different movements that are going to look at your mobility, okay? Go ahead, Cal. Well, this one's the overhead reach. For this one, what you'll do is hopefully you got a bat or a dowel rod or golf club or hockey stick or something near you, and you can do this one right now. But you're going to lay on your back with your knees bent, and you want to make sure with this, the real key is to keep your low back flat against the floor. You want to hold the bat with hands about shoulder width apart and slowly let the arms go back overhead, keeping the elbows straight. And you really want to try to get the arms back to the floor, keeping the low back flat to the floor. So your arms should be able to get all the way back, keeping your low back flat. You go to the next slide. I think we got a little video example. All right. Perfect. So that's the motion you want to do. You want to really try to you should be able to get those arms flat, probably a little bit flatter than I get my arms. I'm an old man, so I don't move that great. But if you guys have the stuff with you, why don't you get on the floor right now and just try this out and see how it feels. Make sure you keep the knees bent up and the feet flat, low back flat, and then go back overhead.
Boys, turn on your videos for a second too, so we can, if you have your videos available, turn on your videos, do this exercise real quick, and we can kind of walk through and help you out and see, if you're doing it correctly or not too. I know it might feel a little awkward right now doing an exercise in front of people, but this is how we're going to help you make sure that you're doing it the correct way.
Try and keep those arms straight, Evan. That's better, bud. Nice job.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Dylan, you're getting attacked. It looks good. So you shouldn't have too many restrictions here. Kids your age should be able to move pretty good through this. If you're having trouble moving through this one though, just practice it just like you're doing it now. So get down on the floor a couple times a day, 10, 20 times. Just go back and forth overhead until they start moving a little more smoothly. And it feels better, feels easier to get the arms back. Actually, that motion, they call that flexion, going back overhead. A restriction in flexion, again, it was a study on major league players. They haven't done it on kids yet, but a restriction in that motion was shown to be the leading cause of injury. So it had the highest prevalence of injury to major league players when they did a study on them. So a lot of people talk about shoulder rotation and those sorts of things that we're going to talk about next, but this one's actually key. That's why I put it first, is that you make sure that you have that motion going back overhead. Kind of makes sense. We throw overhead, so want to make sure we have that. So the next one that we're going to do is shoulder rotation. The picture here shows the guy doing it with both arms. I kind of like doing it with single arm and kind of comparing it to the other arm. But what you're going to do is you're going to stand with your arms straight out to your side and your elbow bent 90 degrees. What you want to do is you want to rotate that shoulder back as far as you can and then forward as far as you can. So the key with this one is keeping the elbow straight out to the side. So picture, you know, a rod kind of going through your elbow here, going straight out to the wall. And then you're not letting that move at all. You're not moving up, you're not moving down. Okay? And then the other thing you want to make sure, especially when you come down, you don't want the shoulder to come way forward. You want to keep it in good position there. So again, you're going to rotate all the way back and rotate all the way forward. If you go to the next slide.
Yep.
I have the little video of me there. So again, you're rotating all the way back. Now, what you're going to find is in baseball players, especially on your throwing side, you know, normal is usually straight up and down. We all tend to have a lot more mobility going back, which is fine, but we don't want to have too much mobility. So when we come down through this range of motion, it should be about 180 degrees full. So if I'm 90 here, then I should be able to go 90 down here too. You guys want to all try that one? Good. Just make sure you keep, Evan, make sure you keep the elbows straight out to the side when you rotate. There you go. Keep the elbows up when you rotate down. There you go. Good. Dylan, same thing. Keep the elbows up when you rotate down. Yep. Yep. Good. Perfect. Good, guys. Yep, good. All right. So, yeah, same thing. You want to make sure you have that 180 degrees and then look at both sides. Look at your non-throwing side too. And make sure, again, the range of motion might not be, you might not go back as far on your non-throwing side, but you should be able to go down a little further on your non-throwing side. So the total range of motion should be close to equal. Okay, we can go to the next one. So this one's a tricky one too. So this one's looking at how you move through your mid-back, okay? So with this, you're going to sit on the edge of the chair. In the picture, the guy's got his arms up here, but I like using the bat right in behind right in over your shoulders. So the bat's in behind your head, over your shoulders. You're going to sit up straight with your feet and your knees together. And then you want to rotate as far as you can one way, and then rotate as far as you can back the other way. To show the video, I'm doing a pretty poor job of demonstrating this one. So this is how an old stiff guy moves right here. So what you want to try to do is you want to try to get the knob of the bat and the end of the bat so that they're kind of even with where your legs are. So you can see in the video, I don't move great this way. I tried to get Daniel to demonstrate, but he was too shy. So you want that bat to point straight ahead, both directions. You guys want to try that one?
If you don't have a
Pretty
bat,
good.
guys, you can do it like the first example showed with the guy holding his shoulders or putting his hands on his shoulders.
Yeah, it does the same thing. The bat's nice because it just kind of holds you in position a little bit better. But if it's sore on your neck, See you moving your head around there, Evan. Just do the touching the shoulders. And keep the feet and knees together. A little tight there, Dylan. Too many video games, I think. All right, so that's one that you guys probably, of all of these, you might find that one to be the tightest one. And again, if you find that it's tight, just work it. So again, a few times a day, just work on that rotation. This is a really important one, especially if you're a pitcher, okay? We want to be able to get, you know, coaches are always saying keep front shoulder closed, right? Well, if I'm real tight through my mid-back, when my hips come through, I'm not going to be able to keep that front shoulder closed because the body's going to want to go with me. Also, when you finish, you know, coaches, a lot of times you hear coaches say follow through, right? Finish your pitch. Well, if I can't rotate all the way this way, I can't finish my follow through. So this is a big one. I think we're all sitting a little more than we're used to. And so this is an area that really can get tight. So this one, make sure that you're working on this one if you find that it's tight. All right, good. So, so that's it for those. So those are the mobility ones we're talking about. Now we're going to talk about strengthening and working some of the stabilizers. So these are working the small muscles, and you may have heard of them, the rotator cuff muscles, the scapula muscles, the core muscles. Really, these are the stabilizers for the foundation of how you throw, okay? You got to build a strong foundation, right? Or otherwise the house crumbles. And what we find is in guys who have injuries, these stabilizer muscles tend to be the weakest, okay? So real important that we target these muscles, we hit these muscles and make sure they're as strong as possible before we get back out on the fields. Go ahead, Cal.
Yep.
Good. So this exercise here is external rotation at the side, okay? So using a band if you guys have one. If you don't have one, you can use just like a small weight or something in your hand. Be better to have a band though. So I think Coach may have given out bands. If you have your band, great. If you don't, it may be worth seeing if you can get on and get your parents to buy you a band. It would probably be well worth it to have a band in your bag just to do some exercises with. So this is going to work on the muscles of the back of the shoulder. Okay, so you're going to stand upright with your elbow bent 90 degrees. I like having a little towel roll or something, you know, at the field. If you're at the field doing this, you can throw your baseball glove under your arm, but something to hold that arm into position. You're going to hold the band so that it's anchored out to your opposite side. You want to rotate your arm, pulling against the resistance. I like a little pause at the end and then slow coming back in. Okay, go to the video. I got a video of this too, I think. A little pause out to the side and slow. Always slow and controlled with these motions. Good.
Is it fine if I have a rubber band that's like this?
You can use that. It's going to be a little more resistance though, so maybe just don't stand so far away from
Do you
wherever
want me
you.
to like cut it because I have scissors right next to me?
I don't know that I would cut it. I'd try it without the scissors first. If you have
Okay.
something you can anchor it to or hook it around.
Sure,
But
like a hook on like a wall.
Yeah, just make sure it's not going to pull out of the wall. That'll make your mom mad.
Right now it's in quarantine.
You can also, with that loop band, you can pull the hands apart. I think that's one of the ones I gave you on your original sheet. You do both arms at the same time with this one. It's actually pretty similar to the next exercise we're going to go over.
Hey, Greg, I have a quick question.
Yep.
So when you're saying slow and controlled motions, can you also use a tempo or a count? So as a reference, so for instance, a two on the way out, 4 on the way back in?
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. And even 2 on the way out, a 2-second pause at the end, and 2 coming back in. The reason being, guys, where we want to be strongest when we throw is back here, or where we really find people tend to be the weakest is back here. If I'm down by my side and I really work all the way out to the end of the range, it's the same as being back here, similar to being back here. So you're working the same muscles. So really making sure you get out all the way, a little bit of pause and control at the end is going to give us more control when our arm is back here. That's really where we need it.
I have a question as well, Greg. When you're doing these shoulder exercises, I assume you want to have good posture and kind of like the pinch back on the way through each exercise.
Exactly. A good way to think about your posture is always think your ear, shoulder, and your hip in line, okay? That'll keep you in good alignment. So straight up and down, ear, shoulder, and hip. I saw everybody in there just sat up a little taller. I like it. So that posture when you're doing your exercise or when you're sitting doing all your schoolwork or playing your video games, always try to think about maintaining that posture, okay? Real important with this exercise. One thing to be careful of is sometimes I'll have guys who try to go back too far with it. Don't crank your shoulder way back with it. Just keep that good alignment. But absolutely, posture is key with this. Otherwise, you'll recruit different muscles and you'll miss out on the exercise.
Greg, can I ask one quick question?
Sure.
When is the best time of day to do? Should you do this before you're going to go out and throw a baseball, after, or does it just not matter?
Yeah, I touch upon this a little bit later, but I gladly answer it now. We want to do this routine once a day. So you're working the stabilizing muscles, so you can work these every day. It's not like, you know, lifting heavy weights or anything like that where you want to give days rest in between. But you can work these every day. So you should run through your routine every day. I wouldn't do it right before you go out and throw, not the full routine. Sometimes using the bands, if you find that the bands are helpful just to get the blood flow going, you can do like one set of 10 or maybe 15 before you go throw just to warm up. You don't want to do like a full set, 3 sets of 15 or 20 before you go out and throw, because then you're fatiguing the muscles out before you throw, and that's the last thing you want to do.
And when you say one set of the bands, you mean that kind of lateral thing like this?
So there's this one, and then we're going to show another band exercise. Okay. Yep. And then they were actually given a sheet with 5 different band exercises too, that are good. They're all good to do. So if they wanted to run through the full routine, and I have a copy of the sheet. If you need it, I have my email on the end of this presentation. I can email it over to you.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. So again, good before, during pregame, or before you go out to practice. You know, 1 set of 10, 1 set of 15, but then once a day you want to run through those 3 sets of 15 to really strengthen the muscles up. Perfect. So the next exercise we're going to do is similar, but now we really focus on the muscles in the middle of the back. So they're going to work the muscles around your shoulder blade. Those muscles are really important for when you throw, especially as you follow through a throwing motion. These muscles really provide stability, keep your arm from flying off your body, keep you from being injured. So you're going to stand upright, holding the ends of the resistance band. So if you can anchor it, you want to have 2 ends, okay? This is where, Evan, if you just have that loop, you can just kind of pull the loop apart, and it'll give you a similar exercise. It'll hit those muscles. Keep the thumbs up, pull the arms apart, and pull your shoulders back like you're making a W. So like you want to finish with like you're in a W position. So you can go to the next one. I got a demo. Yep. So just pulling back, pinching the shoulder blades. I don't know what happened to that video. Good. So if you guys have the bands, go ahead and give that a try. Good, Dylan. Go a little wider with those arms. When you come back, go a little wider. Yep. There you go. So again, posture is key with this. Make sure the head doesn't lurch forward. Make sure to keep the back straight, head up. Cool. Good. We can go to the next one. Yep. Good. So the last exercise we're going to go over today is an exercise for the core. So again, core is kind of your foundation for your movement. If you're weak through your core, you're going to have a really hard time generating the power from your legs, you know, up through your core and out your arm. Okay. So that usually leads to people throwing with all arm, and a lot of times can lead to injuries. So with this one, you're going to lay flat on your back, your arms straight up, your feet off the floor. So your knees are bent 90 degrees. And with this one, what you want to do is you want to keep that back flat to the floor. Then you're going to go one arm out overhead, kicking the opposite leg straight out.
Just hold it in place. The movements will come.
Good. Again, we're always moving slow and controlled. Good. Ev, start with those arms straight up towards the ceiling. There you go. Now go opposites. Opposite. Yep, opposite. Not the same. Opposite arm, opposite leg. If it's too hard to do the arms and the legs, you can just do the legs. Put the arms down by your side and just do the legs. But this is a great core exercise to do. Again, you want to go slow and controlled. I like that count, maybe a 2 count out, 2-second hold, and 4 count coming back. It's a good way to do it. But really, don't blow through these because you'll either miss the form on it, or worse, it can lead to injury if you go too fast. Good. That's it, Dylan. Good. Matt, try to kick the legs straight out if you can.
There.
Yep, kick the legs straight out. There you go, like that. Yep. Good. Perfect. All right, Ev, you're getting it, bud. Good. All right, Cal, I think we're good there.
Yep.
All right, so again, just going over some general considerations with these exercises. The pace should always be slow and controlled, okay? You never want to speed through these. This is where that awareness comes in. You got to be aware of how you're moving. So slow and controlled. You work up to 2 sets. You want to do high repetitions with these exercises. Again, they're working the stabilizing muscles, and these muscles have to be able to really be strong for you through all the throws that you have, through a game, through a practice. That can be a lot of throws. So 2 sets of 20 to 25, and you can do those every day. Should never have any pain with the exercises. And then back to that awareness. Again, form is really key. So making sure you have good posture, good form is key with all of these. And like we said before, and I may say it in a later slide, but don't do those 2 sets of 25 right before you go have a practice or before you go to throw. Be better to do at the end of the day or afterwards. All right, you can go ahead, Cal. Oh, there's that slide. So yeah, the exercises are good to do before you throw. Good warm up, get some blood flow into the muscles, but don't overdo it before. And keep in mind, guys, this is only one aspect of arm care, okay? This is only considering really strength and some mobility. There's also conditioning that coaches have talked to you about. They've given you some stuff to work on that you can do at home. You also should be thinking about nutrition, which is harder. Again, everybody's at home. We tend to not eat as great. Hydration, making sure you're drinking enough water. Which is really important. Proper sleep, making sure we're getting to sleep, and mindset, just the way that you're thinking. Always being positive, staying in a positive frame of mind is really important for all aspects of your health. The other thing that I really want to hit on is posture. So you can do everything right. You can do these exercises. You can do the workouts the coaches have given you. You can do all the practice stuff the coach has given you. You spend 4 hours a day sitting like this kid here. Playing video games, it's going to offset all of that. So really watch your posture during the day. Posture is really important. Again, like Coach Cal said, really important for keeping everything in proper position. Really important for being a good athlete in general, having good posture. So, I understand you guys are going to be sitting, on computers for schoolwork and playing video games more. But take breaks and just do a little bit of these exercises. Even if you don't have the band, just pinching the shoulder blades back, trying to get that posture back upright. Really important and really helpful. You can go ahead, Cal. Again, these exercises are good for all players, but they're not really individualized. To get a true individualized program is probably the best way to go. We are, just to the parents out there, we're offering free 15-minute screens with a PT where we can look at some of the individual stuff a little more in depth. If you're interested, just shoot me an email and we'll schedule it up and find a time that works for you and get you that free screen. We're offering it to all spinners. Also, if we did hand out exercises to all the kids, and if you have lost your exercises, shoot me an email and I can email you a copy of those exercises, or if you need a printout of the exercise we did today, I can get that over to you as well. Go ahead, Cal.
Yep.
All right, that's all I have for you guys today. You guys have any questions?
I just want to say I thought this was excellent. Appreciate you taking the time to go through it, and I'll look forward to getting that sheet. I think you might have emailed it out, but
Okay.
I think I have your email. I'll send you a note to make sure that I've got it, and we
Perfect.
try and keep up with it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, just want to add, Greg, thanks too. This stuff, take this stuff serious, right? So this is, I was probably one of the least flexible athletes in the history of the United States when I was a kid, when I was your age. And, doing some of these routines and not as in depth as this, we didn't have the knowledge that Greg's giving us, or at least it wasn't available at our fingertips. But doing these types of exercises and similar exercises just transformed my game even further, right? So guys, and even guys that I coach now, the ones that go sign Division I commits, those guys are the ones that buy into this stuff. And the ones that think it's, I don't need to do this because I'm already good enough, or I don't need to do this, I already throw hard enough. You just get passed by as you get older. So it's just another level of becoming a better baseball player and a better athlete in general. Even if you're a multi-sport athlete, which we encourage, you become a much better athlete by having mobility within your body, right? So you can, you're safer and you can move in different ways, to be successful. So long story short, just take this serious because it will benefit you tremendously.
And I'll just piggyback on that off Coach Roper, guys. Make sure your form is correct, like Greg was talking about. Form is key when doing these exercises. And then to carry over with that, when you get out on the field and you're actually throwing a baseball, make sure your form is correct there too. Okay, and throw with a purpose, right? When you're playing catch, okay, you shouldn't be just playing catch just to do it, or just because coach tells you to go warm up. Okay, you play catch with a purpose, you warm up correctly, okay, and you do everything the right way. I was a guy that had Tommy John surgery at 21 years old, and I was throwing with a partially torn UCL for a year and a half before I even had the surgery. Okay, and not that I wasn't taking care of my arm, but I just kind of overlooked all the little things that added up to really taking care of your arm the correct way, warming up correctly, and throwing with a purpose every single time you have the baseball. So just a couple things, food for thought to take with you as we move forward during this time.
And all great comments, guys. And again, use Complete Game Physical Therapy and Greg as a tool and a resource for you guys. He's providing these free 15-minute screenings for you guys. Take advantage of these. They will show a little bit more if there are any problems. And one of the biggest things here that this message should send to you guys is this keeps you guys on the field and safe for play. You don't want to be, in Cal's situation where you've got 18 months off due to a Tommy John. I mean, for you guys, we're not there quite yet, but we want to prepare ourselves to not encounter those problems. So use these programs and these tools as incentive to stay on the field and become better baseball players and to add to your game. And this presentation that Greg made today will be sent to you guys over email like we have with all our presentations in the past. So this is a very useful one. Try to get this done as much as possible in preparation for our season. And then once we get going with our season, this is stuff that you can do as well to maintain and sustain as we move along throughout the year. All right. So we wanted to thank you guys for coming out today. I know the times are tough and we're trying to make them as best as possible to get everybody on board. But we're doing our best to get an audience, and I think we're doing a good job with that. So If not any other questions, we'll see you guys on our next Zoom on Friday. You guys have some homework for that Friday Zoom. Just remember to make sure you do your homework and understand what we're trying to get at with that one. This is going to be very interactive for you guys like today's was, so it should be fun. So we're looking forward to that. Anything else, Coach Cal, Cam, QB, I see you in there.
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
Yeah, just don't. One more thing, Mike. Just when Greg said, "Hey, anybody have any questions?" and nobody asked a question, ask questions. Okay, if you're not comfortable doing it now, send an email. Greg's email's on there. You guys know all our emails. Contact us, right? Contact coaches. A lot of guys that don't, in any aspect of athletics, they are afraid to ask questions because they're afraid to sound dumb or whatever. Ask questions. There's no dumb questions. There's none, right? Ask them. We will help you work through, again, your posture, your repetition, your timing. Again, ask questions, as many as you have, right? Those are the best learners. Those are coachable kids. Ask as many questions as you have, right? We're never going to consider anything a dumb question. We're going to answer them 100% honesty.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming out. We'll see you guys on Friday. Thanks a lot, Greg. That was excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.